Dr. Jaffe, we know that the plant-powered protein guard is part of PERQUE's healthy weight protocol. But could it also be used for those that are underweight? And what servings would you recommend?
Oh, very good point. Usually people want to reduce their mass, their excess fat and weight, and they would replace one meal a day with the PERQUE plant-powered protein guard, the meal. And it's important to understand this is a full meal. It's why it says nutrition facts, not supplement facts on the label. It isn't just a composite of stuff. It's a meal. But it's a meal with less than 200 calories and 5 hours of satiety or satisfaction, which can help you digest, assimilate, and eliminate what you take in while burning fat because, and I'm sure people know this and then I'll get on to the real question, the difference between a 120-pound lean person and a 240-pound fat person is 120 pounds of fat. And there are some MRI studies and others that have confirmed that you carry fat in your fat pads. Humans are among the few species on the planet that actually have fat pads. We understand why polar bears and whales have fat pads. We're not quite so sure why human beings have kept them, but we do have them. And we can actually pack a lot of fat in there if we eat an imbalanced diet. But if you replace one meal a day with the plant-powered meal, you will get satisfaction, nutrition, and a healthier digestion. But now let's look the other side. Let's say someone has difficulty gaining weight. Now they could have difficulty gaining weight because their thyroid is overactive or their adrenal is overactive. And so you might want to check in the saliva for thyroid, TSH, free T3, free T4. You might want to check in the saliva for stress hormones and maybe male and female testosterone, estrogen type hormones and their precursors. All of this can be done on a saliva, non-invasive sample. And let's exclude the people who have hyperthyroidism because we can manage that medically and physiologically. But then there are people who have an apparently normal thyroid, adrenal, pituitary communication in their neurochemical system, and they still have trouble gaining weight. The next major category of people who have trouble gaining weight are the people who, because of medical therapies, have had atrophy of their digestive capacity. It's called enteropathy, which is just a Greek word for you lost the surface of your capacity to assimilate what you digested. Now, by example, if you take the human GI tract, it's very irregular when it's healthy. It has a lot of surface folded back on itself. It's very elegant. It's a 20-foot tube, but if you laid it out on a tennis court, the surface area would fill the entire tennis court, both sides. Most people who have trouble gaining weight have had atrophy of that digestive capacity. They have some degree of enteropathy. And so you really have to get more elemental-like foods for them. Pre-digested fermented foods are really recommended for people who want to rebuild their digestion and rebuild their strength, rebuild their muscle, gain weight. Number two, if you know how to breathe deeply so that breath is your refuge, then when stress occurs in life, because it does, and it's called distress for a reason, when stress occurs in your life in a way that's afflictive and distressing, if you can breathe into it rather than hold your breath, watch yourself, watch other people. When they get stressful experience or news that is distressing, the first thing they do is hold their breath. And that sends all sorts of messages to your body that are afflictive, that are not helpful. Abdominal breathing, 5 minutes twice a day, maybe as part of your sleep induction program. And we have resources to guide you in regard to a full half an hour preparing for restorative sleep that includes 5 minutes of abdominal breathing. And sometime during the day, and by the way, when you move around, it is okay to breathe deeply because when you breathe shallowly, as most people do, you move air in your chest and you barely move your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is this very interesting muscle and connective tissue sheet between the chest and the abdomen. And people who know how to breathe, who breathe deeply, and by the way, babies always breathe this way. You have to traumatize people before they learn to breathe in their chest. People who practice abdominal breathing just 5 minutes twice a day for a few months learn what the Buddhists call breath as a refuge from distress. So what's going on outside is afflictive. What's going on inside is up to us and our practice. And what was most amazing to me was that just 5 minutes twice a day of abdominal breathing was enough to get a stretch because of the diaphragm into the abdomen, which helps with digestion. There are multiple things that are beneficial from learning how to breathe like a baby abdominally. So that's a category of people who have trouble gaining weight. Then there is a category of people who just have been eating processed food, stuff out of boxes, too much sugar, empty calorie sugar, or artificially sweetened beverages and foods that actually addict your tongue and brain in unhealthy ways. I won't go through the litany, but the bottom line is the more whole your diet, the more well hydrated you are, the more you do what you know to do to evoke your healing responses, the more you move, because sitting really is the new smoking. At least 5 minutes an hour, get up from your seat and amble about. And if you can, try walking barefoot outside on the grass, when it's comfortable. I happen to live in a forest, and so one of the first things I do after I've gotten up and washed and so forth is I go out and I feel, my feet feel how the grass feels with the dew still on it. And it's an unconditional joy. In German and in Yiddish, we say a machaya. That's an unconditional joy. It makes you just feel hopeful. It gives you helpful opportunity to amble about, not just pursue a goal. And it turns out just a little bit of that, investing 5% of your time in yourself, can help you get to your optimum, your better weight, whether that means gain or lose, because of the guidance we can provide. Now, some people do need, and certainly for a period of time, more calories. It turns out, and it's kind of interesting, if you really starve yourself, you will lose a little bit of weight, but not much. Phil Felix showed this many years ago with people who were what we call morbidly obese. These are people who came into the hospital weighing over 300 pounds. If you put them on an ultra low calorie diet, they lost about 50 pounds and then plateaued because their body went into starvation mode and it started to conserve every molecule, every pound it could. So you don't want to starve yourself, but you might want to use our liquid nutrient plan once or twice a week to help your digestion improve without the work of overwork that most digestive meals require. You might want to stay hydrated and follow our self-assessments, the 4 of them, including hydration, knowing that you're getting enough antioxidant ascorbate based on your C-cleanse, knowing what your digestive transit time is. How long does it take from the time you eat until you eliminate? 12 to 18 hours is healthy. What you eat at night should come out in the morning. When I have roast beets for dinner, I often see red in the commode in the morning. And I will tell you, after all these years, the first thought I never have is, oh, I had beets last night. So you test with charcoal rather than with beets or corn in a way that allows you to know whether your digestion is too short or too long. Most people who are overweight have a too long digestive time, and some people who are underweight have less than 12 hours of digestive transit, which means they don't have enough time to digest, assimilate, and eliminate what they've consumed before it's out. And if you have this, it's called short bowel syndrome, but if you have this shorter than healthy transit time, please contact our health coach trainers and we will inform you about how to do additional assessments, self-assessments and tests to confirm why the person has hypermotility. Now you can have hypermotility, that is a short transit time, based on excitoneurotoxins that you take in from anti-nutrients like hormone disruptors and persisting pollutants. Or you might have a biochemical need for more of certain essential nutrients than the average person, but we can find out what you need based on 4 self-assessments, 8 predictive biomarkers, and then some individualized stressor-related neurochemical testing, metabolic testing, if needed. And yes, today in the 21st century, too many people do not get enough of the good. They get too much of the bad. They think they're eating better than they were before, and they probably are under professional guidance and personal insight. However, that's not good enough. If you have years or decades that have interfered with the quality of your digestion, your metabolism, your detoxification, your restorative sleep, and your neurochemical balance, it will take months. The good news is it will only take months. It won't take decades or lifetimes. It's not all over but the shouting just because you have impaired your digestion and metabolism and detoxification and sleep over many years. Now is the best time to start on a better path, on a new direction. And if you change your habits, if you follow this kind of simple, and I think elegantly simple and simply elegant guidance, if you follow this approach, the physiology before pharmacology, then nature, nurture, and wholeness, live in harmony with your nature, which means you know your nature well enough to live in harmony with it. And devote 5% of your time, just 5% of your time, to self-care, to caring about yourself and caring for yourself. Now, 5% of the day turns out to be 72 minutes, if you want to do the math. And everything we recommend in self-care can be combined, because you often do 2 or 3 things coherently together, in 72 minutes a day. And when people say to me they don't have time, I ask if they could find 72 minutes spread through the day, and most people could if they wanted to, if it was valuable enough, if it was important enough. And my message is, it's about survival. In the 21st century, too many people are in survival mode, not in protective, elective mode, because they have too much distress and bad stuff and not enough of the good stuff to renew. So let's reduce the bad stuff, let's increase the good stuff, and start the renewal process, which takes months, but fortunately begins as soon as you start committedly on a coherent path to evoke healing responses, to be at your healthy weight, because we have corrected any endocrine issues, any pituitary, thyroid, adrenal issues. We've corrected any atrophy or enteropathy issues. We've allowed you to eat the foods that you can digest, assimilate, and eliminate in a healthy 12 to 18-hour time. And then, especially if you exercise a bit. How much exercise do we need? About 20 minutes a day. And if you exercise in a way that moves all of your joints and all of your muscles, they get the signal to renew. But if you move in a repetitive way, that part of you renews, and the rest of you, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't renew it, it atrophies. So we want you to invest in yourself. If you want to do more than 20 minutes of exercise, that's fine. You need a certain amount of cardio, a certain amount of weight bearing, that is, get your pulse up to a certain level. But I will tell you, for example, that when you're asleep, your pulse should drop to about 50, which helps give the body the signal that this is the time to renew, restore, and rehabilitate. And most people never settle down to the point where their sleep is truly restorative, where their REM, the stage R or 4th stage of sleep, is not deep enough to allow the healthy growth hormone, the healthy thyroid stimulating hormone, the healthy adrenocortical thyroid hormone, ACTH, the healthy oxytocin, that's the hormone of pleasure and joy, healthy FSH and LH. These are all things that come out of your pituitary, instructed by the pineal, and our approach rehabilitates the pineal to pituitary and pituitary to body system, because it is an interactive system. by using physiology before pharmacology, and then by, when appropriate, measuring to confirm that we have done sufficiently to evoke the body's healing in muscle, in connective tissue, in restorative sleep and mood, in digestion and metabolism, in detoxification and renewal. So yes, you can use PERQ plant-powered meals as a supplement to diet to bring your caloric intake up above 2,500 calories a day. And that, along with the other things I've just mentioned, will restore people who are too lean, and there are people who just can't gain weight, and that is its own issue. It's an issue of self-esteem, but it's more importantly an issue of resilience. I will tell another time about the time when I needed 15 extra pounds to survive a life trauma. And fortunately, I had those pounds. But I will tell you, when I recovered and first got up and looked at myself in the mirror, I was gaunt. Lean is fine. Lean is good. Gaunt is not. So yes, there are people who need to gain weight, and I've tried to give you some indications about what needs to be assessed and what to do about it. And PERQ plant-powered meal guard is absolutely your friend, whether you need to gain or to lose, but to get to your proper and healthier weight and stay there for life.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jaffe.